Hi. I kicked a brush turkey out of this tree so that I could lie in it. And I'll talk to you from this tree branch that's hanging over the brook. So, I don't really, as usual, haven't really got anything planned out to say. I just want to have a conversation, a discussion. And it's a true crime discussion, of course. And I wanted to talk through some aspects of various cases and ponder, do these things affect the protagonists if they know about other cases? Do these things affect how the true crime voyeurs, you and I, how we think about true crime cases and what's going on? So I don't know much about the case I'm going to compare to the case of missing woman Suzanne Morphew, but I'll use the Kentucky Bourbon case, Bardstown. Sorry, I had my hat on and a bit sweaty. Bardstown case of Crystal Rogers. So Crystal Rogers is missing. A body has been found 3 months ago that may or may not be her. Police are working on that. So what have we got? Look, I mean, we've got different themes that I'll try and stick to in order. Have we got police corruption? We've got marijuana versus bourbon and alcohol running. Look at this bird. Am I on your tree, mate? I think it's a girl. She's got a little crop. Hi, darling. Do you want to come and talk true crime? You know, you've got allegations of abuse. You've got murders, actually in Bardstown, you've got murder surrounding Crystal Rogers. What am I trying to say here? Let's just do one thing at a time. Okay, so Mr. Barry Morphew. Well, people with their own histories of being abusive, actually someone that likes to play down his history of abuse and say, oh yeah, I've got traffic violations too, hey, who hasn't? Dustin Draper, I mean, you've done 13 years in the clanger for child abuse. You were abusive toward a small child that wasn't your own, and I believe you might have filmed yourself being cruel to this person, okay? Now, you don't keep bringing that up. You'll mention your traffic violations and all sorry to judge because you know no one's perfect. But then you'll say that Barry Morphew has a history of abuse, and actually no. John Schmidt is a piece of shit liar. We know this. He has told multiple stories about the incident, the single incident with Barry Morphew. Now, what was it? We don't know. This is back at a time when there might have been a lot of stress for the Morphew family. Who knows? Barry was getting sued a bit, and it seems that Suzanne was going through her own stuff and maybe having a rift with her family. And John Schmidt has blown a story out of proportion, and then people spread the lie about it. John Schmidt was the one that actually threw the first punch and got aggro with Barry. And also, the way he tells the story the first time, he changed it months later because he was caught out. And he then said that when a detective came to Indiana to talk to him about it, one of his workers, Felix, just so happened to be where John Schmidt was. And so he said, hey, Felix, come on over here. Tell the nice officer how aggressive and nasty Barry Morphew was to you. And John says, wow, I didn't know the extent of this. I had no idea the incident was so huge. So what is it? John Schmidt was there the whole time. He was directly involved. He's making Barry Morphew out to be a raging bull. Now, I've worked in construction and in these roles, and I know what goes on the sites, and everyone's jostling. Someone's schedule is out by a day or two, and someone else just has to get on with their work because everything's screwed up for them, and it costs time and money. And I wouldn't take John Schmidt's word for anything. He seems like a manipulative person, and he's seemingly narcissistic. So, as we all are in some senses, aren't we? I mean, I certainly am. Look at me sitting here talking to myself. So, violence, no. I mean, there's nothing to say. I mean, we don't know, okay? We don't know that Suzanne Morphew's friends, people that actually know her and Barry, we don't know that they haven't come through with information to police and told police, look, Suzanne has said that she was being abused by Barry, emotionally, physically, financially. So we don't know that. I mean, that's certainly something that might have happened, right? But that hasn't been released, and no one is speaking about it. So it is all assumption. It is absolute assumption. So you can't put assumption on a list, okay? It's like, these people that are making these lists 50, 60, 70 lines long, most of these things shouldn't be on there. It's not investigative. It's not fact. It's speculation. It's personal belief. So with Bardstown, Brooks, who was Crystal Rogers' boyfriend, well, he does appear to be a piece of shit. And actually, he's a bit punchy when it comes to children. And guess what? There's a child that's died that's connected to this. And how did she die? By being punched. So her name was Samantha, and her mum Kathy was killed along with her. Kathy worked at the high school that Samantha went to. Now, Brooks, Crystal's boyfriend, has a brother, Nick, who's in the police force, who told Brooks to get out of that interrogation room. Brooks has actually been named a suspect. It's 5 years on, but he is named a suspect. He's just not arrested and in jail. Barry Morphew is not named a person of interest or suspect. He has to be, but he's not named it. Okay? Now, in the Bardstown case, a police officer with the surname Ellis, on a day that he wasn't in his cop car, he wasn't with his canine sidekick, his canine officer, as usual, who would know these things, probably other police officers, right? He stopped on a road to pull something that was blocking him, maybe a tree or something. I mean, this is classic ambush, isn't it? Bit obvious. I want to know, did he get out of his cop car drawing the gun? Did he have his gun drawn when he was shot dead? He was assassinated. What was he suspicious? What did he know? You're all talking about police corruption, everyone's in Barry's pocket. Well, what if Barry is afraid to talk because people that talk in these cases, well, people that they love die, or people that they know die. Children, family members, other family members. So if there is corruption, doesn't mean Barry's involved. I mean, you all need to be a lot more clear. Sorry, I can talk, can't I? I don't know what I'm saying here. I mean, I know what I think about it. It's just hard to put it all together. There's just so much. But I'm just trying to say, okay, are you affected by what you know of other cases? You know, we all realise that Crystal was probably murdered by her shit for brains boyfriend, Brooks. that he's got connections to a police force and nothing seems to be happening. But is that really the case? Because things are happening. Maybe good cops are getting killed, and he has also been named a suspect, and innocent children are being killed. You know, what do people know? Does it make you think, well, what does Barry Morphew then know, if anything? Or, I mean, okay, you need to start from scratch with every case. Because I think you see, oh, you know, Bourbon, Kentucky, there's, you know, illicit smuggling. So there's got to be illicit smuggling and illicit involvement with drugs in the Barry Morphew case and Suzanne's missing person case. You know, look at all these women that are turning up that it was their husbands. So that means it's going to be Barry Morphew, you know. You need to start fresh. Lots of these things on the list. I mean, you've got things like Morgan Gentile heard a truck outside her apartment. Well, that woman, Morgan Gentile, guess where she lived at the time? Outside a fucking car park on the side of a highway. Okay, did she look out the window? She was careful. She didn't say she saw a truck. She didn't say she saw Barry in a truck. No, she just heard a truck. Fuck, that woman would have been hearing trucks and cars idling outside her shitbox apartment all day, every day. Now, she's moved from there, but we've seen that apartment on film. We know its location, okay? Barry hurtling down the highway. Well, Barry has said that he did do something GPS-wise to do with his bobcat. The police still didn't make him a suspect based on what was out of kilter, and this might just have been that at 4 o'clock in the morning he was doing something with his bobcat before he left. Now, yes, that could be something nefarious, okay? Everybody in the world knows that Barry might have done it, even if you want him to be innocent, okay? Because it is a fact of life that Barry might have done it. We know that. We're not idiots, but you can't go putting things on your list like proof. He's violent. Proof. Morgan Gentile heard his truck outside her apartment. I mean, that's just all bullshit. And you are weak in the head if that's the sort of thing that you believe based on what you're being shown and told. If you believe Barry is guilty because of things like that, you know, by all means, make a list. Make it a good one. Make it 10 excellent, airtight things. People still don't understand. You've got Hot Mess and Wet Patch that get things wrong all the time. You've got Hot Mess saying, oh, but he said he had to go and do things with his wife, but then he was still in town. No, that was Saturday. Hot Mess, that was Saturday. Now, we don't know if he did go and do something with Suzanne, you know. We don't know. We don't know if they went for a sandwich, they bought a sandwich somewhere. I mean, there was restrictions on where I was that, well, okay, restaurant might not be open, but you can order something and take it away. You just can't sit there, right? So, you know, maybe they did buy a sandwich. I don't know. But, you know, how much do the facts and extrapolations and things to do with other cases, how much are they affecting what you believe is the case in the Barry Morphew and Suzanne Morphew case? Because I think it clouds people's judgment, and it might also be clouding what the protagonists do, that they don't speak, you know, or people learn that if you know, I mean, Barry's been burned so many times every time he talks to someone, you know. The last person you should speak to is someone on YouTube. If you are involved or if you know anything, just talk to law enforcement. You know, you've got Slick and Slicker sliming their way, texting people, emailing people, messaging people, going, come on, talk to us, come on, talk to us, come on, a safe space, talk to us, come on. Oh, and they are pushy and oh, they're the last people anyone should talk to, okay? They're manipulating the facts. They are doing exactly the same thing as the people that make all these lists or things that don't add up. They've allowed lies, bullshit and jelly bean on their shows. They've allowed people to come in and lie and tell porcupines. Yes, they have. They've lined up experts that are just there to promote their agenda and not really talk on fact. What about just sitting back and just saying, okay, well, this is where we're at the moment. It could be this, it could be this. It's looking like Barry, but here is how we would examine this. And how about actually educating people on restraint and being open-minded, you know, and how to examine things piece by piece, rather than just say, hey, let's just pick the devil here and run with that from day dot, you know. It's not logical. Just like this really bizarre talk I'm giving you here. This is awful. I know. I'm not doing a very good job of it. But yeah, I'm just wanting to say, you know, are you being affected by the other cases that we voyeuristically watch? Like Bardstown, which I admit I don't know much about. But, you know, I know that Crystal Rogers, she went missing 5 years ago, you know, strange circumstances again, just like with Josh Powell, who, you know, oh, we went up to feed the animals at night, got back at midnight, you know, Crystal never seen again. And, you know, in that instance, you've got Brooks, who is actually, you know, has punched apparently one of Crystal's daughters. And, you know, he's not a stand-up guy. He's got a brother in the force who, you know, could know what's going on with the investigation and is telling him to get out of the investigation room. Well, I guess that's what any lawyer would tell people. If you can, just get out of the investigation room and let the cops do their job. Their job, I mean, that they are going to treat you like you're guilty. They're allowed to lie. I mean, this is all true. And, you know, just, I think it's a tough one because you want to help out, but at the same time, plenty of people are innocent that are put away. Genuinely innocent people. I'm not meaning that everyone who goes to prison always says they're partly innocent or not really to blame. But plenty of innocent people get put in jail for heinous crimes. Yeah, and how much of this colours your judgment in the case of Barry Morphew? Because, you know, you say, well, look at the pictures. You know, you can't look at pictures because everyone thought Christopher Watts and Shanann Ruzak looked happy. Well, I don't think they did. I can look at that and I don't see happy people. Those videos that Shanann made me very uncomfortable. She would often film things over and over again and show them the same thing, like, for example, making announcements to her daughters about the new baby, and, you know, it was all very contrived. And, you know, I don't think they looked necessarily happy, and I don't think you know, Christopher Watts necessarily looked like he was the man about the house, and who's to know what their status quo, you know, how it made them feel. But I didn't see necessarily this very happy family. I saw an ambitious woman using social media, as many millions of people do in this day and age, to try and make a living. Now, Thrive, Lavelle, they prey on vulnerable people like Shanann. They prey on people, and she was caught in a trap there with them. I mean, she's a victim of Lavelle. She really is, and you'll judge her for it. But those marketing systems are nasty, and she was stuck, and she had to work 24/7 just to try and make that work. She had to display every aspect of her life. Now, granted, she probably was used to doing that already. I mean, I can see that she showed her engagement. It was all, I mean, I think that's very strange to film your engagement and produce it and put that out for people. It's a way of sharing. It's a way of sharing things when people aren't around you that you love, I guess. You're away from family, you live in other states or other countries. But, you know, a happy snap sent privately would do it, wouldn't it? But so things were shared very publicly all the time. But this was just, you know, she's no different to millions of other young women that do this, come on, and men. And you can't really judge her for that. I mean, I don't like how she showed so much of her children, and I think it makes them vulnerable in a sense, but they were delightful children, Bella and Cece. But, you know, with Chris Watts, so, you know, here we are again. We are comparing Christopher Watts and Shanann Ruzek's photos, you know, to the ones of Suzanne and Barry, and saying, oh, look, who looks happy, who doesn't, or see, you can all pretend to be happy families, you don't have to be. I mean, every man and his dog knows that a picture can be contrived and it doesn't always say 1,000 words. But I think there's a lot that you could compare, and you can see more genuineness in Barry and Suzanne's photos than you can in Shanann and Chris's. I really think so. And I think there's a lot to be said if you did truly analyse those, for the fact that, yeah, it's more of a partnership in one couple than another, let's just say that. You know, people are desperate for answers. There will be no one more desperate for answers than Suzanne's daughters, okay? And they might be scared. Barry, if he's innocent, Barry might be scared for his daughters. If they say anything or do anything, if there's corruption like you're all claiming, who could be next? If his wife can be taken, his daughters can be taken and killed too. And you don't know this. And then again, it can just be a case of a mountain lion. You are actually, you have to, it might not be likely, but you have to hold a space, at least a 5% space, a 1% space, whatever it is, that a mountain lion is involved. Because, you know, up in Gunnison, just a little drive away, a young huntress was attacked by a mountain lion. She shot the mountain lion, and eventually it was found it was dead. It was a huge mountain lion. It's well within the range that a mountain lion, you know, it's right along that line of permaplath. Gunnison is just a few hours drive inland, I think, from, you know, west, I mean, from Maysville. And it was a huge mountain lion. The hunter, she got separated from her group. She was watching this lion. She thought it went away, and then she saw it had just circled around behind some trees and then was coming for her. And she shot it when she was feet away from it. Unfortunately, it wasn't a kill shot, and it got away and it had to die probably a bit painfully. And it's tragic that it had to be shot at all. You know, we are in their environment. But, you know, if you can't see that foul play or animal foul play other than Barry Morphew is involved, you're not looking with an open mind as facts come to light. You know, all this, we haven't left the house, you know. I mean, I think if Suzanne's left with a person, she's very much left alive. I think she's been either taken by Barry or kidnapped by someone alive, and I don't think she was killed in the home. There is the issue of the gun. That is weird. Who took the gun? Was it someone that knows Barry that is setting him up or wanted to use the gun to kill Suzanne, so that if she's ever found, she's found shot with Barry's gun? I mean, obviously Barry, yes, could have used that gun, But when did he report that missing? Was this ages ago? So, okay, premeditated, then what things would he have done differently if this was premeditated? You can come up with something better than planting that fucking bike. You just wouldn't bother at all, maybe. I don't know. If you can premeditate and do, you know, and commit murder like this to such a degree that he's not named a suspect yet, you do a better job, you know. So if it's a spur of the moment rage thing, yeah, you might have done a shit job with the bike. Okay, so then does that discount the gun being part of it? Because if it's just an out of the blue, he's gone too far or he's lost it, you know, what about the gun then? How does that play in? You've got to think, okay, if it's pre-med or not, then how does it change the gun or not, or the bike or not, okay? That also brings me to, you know, COVID, clusterfuck 19, right? A woman who has been through so many health issues, you are going to be protected by your family. Your family says, no, you're not going there to mingle with those people. No, you're not going to where you are in danger. You know, your immune system's down, you could get sick, you could catch COVID-19, you know, for those of you who, you know, it's a real thing. And if you think people are vulnerable, then, you know, that is so real, that, you know, idea of it being dangerous to someone like Suzanne, and, you know, attending things in person just might not be something Barry would want to allow, because we didn't know what was happening. We didn't know who was going to get affected, and Suzanne would be in a high risk group, the highest risk probably, okay? Chlorine is used in jobs in landscaping, so you'd want to know how often people were buying chlorine for Barry, or he was buying, if this was a regular thing and it's not out of pattern, you know, or, you know, do you clean the house? I mean, you know, if you're planning a murder, you know people are going to find out you've sent someone to buy chlorine or buy this or buy that, okay? So you can do a better job than that. You'd have some from the job. You'd have, you know, you wouldn't go, I mean, the Home Depot thing, murders are us, right? You just know. You do a better job. I don't think Barry Morphew is this stupid, is he? But who knows, maybe. But, you know, owners of businesses send their workers to buy all sorts of things, and it is widely known chlorine is used in the industry, all right? Now, again, you've got Morgan's word for it. People are saying, I'd believe True Crime saying it smelled like flowers. Well, then you're discounting two other people. You've got a bully boy, sorry Brandon, but honestly, you've got Lube Crime, who was making up that Morgan Gentile was an escort. He was making jokes about what she said about her welding and rigging and the use of tools. Everything was lascivious and dirty. But now you can believe him, and now if it's all right, oh, what is it? You believe Brandon of Lube Crime saying that Morgan Gentile is Barry's mistress, she's had his kids, she's an escort, and now she's a believable witness and everything she says is believable and correct? No. No. And you know, no. If Lauren Schaff wasn't such a faker, a useless woman with low integrity, she would have gone inside, she would have walked in, she would have reported on that. She purposely didn't say anything, or maybe she didn't just release it, but she didn't mention the smell, she didn't say anything. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? It makes you think, probably stank to high heaven. There's the water treatment plant, there's a pool full of chlorine, who knows? And I've said it before, you know, meth can smell like chlorine when it's burned. So who knows? Look at this little woolly wagtail. Yeah, sorry, gosh. you know, make up your minds, okay? Make up your minds. Is someone to be made fun of and vilified, and then is the star witness? Which is it? You know, the police know. The police know what matches up with what Morgan said and what Barry has said, and they know where the discrepancies are, okay? I don't think any of us, even though it seems, you know, yeah, there might be something going on there. Was the time discrepancy that morning, or was it another time? And where was it? Was it that Barry did go down to Salida at 4 and then go back home to leave at 5? You know, maybe you don't want to wake your wife at 5 a.m, but you normally do rouse. You remember giving a kiss goodbye. But I've worked many early jobs. I've certainly left the home without waking a partner. I've had partners that have worked many early hours. Yeah, he certainly might try it. Who knows how deep Suzanne sleeps? It's all up on the person. You know, it's you might not be woken. I would be, but I would just wake up, but I might go back to sleep, and then I would be left sleeping, wouldn't I? But I've certainly been able to do that to people, you know. So you know, it might sound dodgy, and yes, it very well could be, but you can't count that as fact. You know, dodgy timelines, Chris Watts. You know, dodgy actions, Chris Watts. Yes, it was great that they got him eventually, you know, they got him quickly into prison, and it was some good moves by Tammy and everything, I guess, but they let themselves down at the post because they just snapped those books shut, and that's dodgy. So they didn't know how, what, where, when, and they shut the case, and that's why they had to go back in February 19, didn't they? And they still don't have answers, and they should have just kept investigating, and they just, you know, they wanted their man, I guess. Yeah, so I don't know, which is it, people? You keep saying there's corruption, well, but you don't follow that through and think, well, does that actually endanger Barry Morphew and his family? You say that he's got everyone in his pocket, but he doesn't have that kind of money, and you say that he's got pressure. I mean, he could be raising funds because he thinks he's going to get put in a slammer, or he wants to protect his girls, or, you know, he's just trying to survive, or is it because he's paying people off? I mean, look, with Bardstown, it took forever for the FBI to get involved, but when they did, what happened? IRS. There's no IRS involved here now, as far as I am aware, with Barry Morphew, and the feds got in there quick smart.